For anybody who has been practicing magic for a period of time, you would have probably noticed that you reach stages where nothing happens. These are the plateau stages, and they can be kind of confusing, so I just wanted to talk about that today. Welcome to my channel. You are entering the world of magic and mysticism with your host, Lee W. Johnson. Keep the lights on and help improve the channel by becoming a supporter for just $2.99 per month. Hit the join button. So the plateau stages that we reach, what basically happens is we kind of study and we practice and we learn and we keep progressing. So we kind of step up and up and up and up and up. And it gets to a point where we've taken in a lot of knowledge and we need to kind of stop. And this means that that progress that we've been taking all of a sudden just plateaus out and nothing happens. And sometimes we have to step back a bit. But these plateau stages, as I said, can be kind of confusing when they happen because we've been making all this progress and we've been doing spells and we've been working magic and we've been constructing a compass or a circle or some kind of mythology, some kind of worldview that speaks to us, and we've been making all this progress and all of a sudden it just stops. And we can't make any more progress, nothing seems to work. We may be doing spell work and nothing's happening, and it just gets very confusing because, as I said, we've made all this progress and all of a sudden it just stops and we can't figure out why this is all of a sudden happening. And it's that plateau stage. So what sort of happens is we take in a lot of knowledge, we consume a lot, but just like when we eat food, we get to a point where we have to stop eating and then we have to allow the digestive system to do what it needs to do. And same with taking in knowledge. If you take in a lot of knowledge, you get to a point where you need to digest that knowledge. So these plateau stages are extremely important. When you reach a plateau stage, try not to push yourself further. Don't keep trying to consume more and more and more. Coming back to the food analogy, if you are sitting down for a meal and you eat 3/4 of the plate and you're full, don't push yourself to eat more because it will be bad for your system. Same with doing magic and learning. You're going to get to a point where you've taken in enough, and then you need to take a period of time to actually allow that to assimilate, to understand it, to integrate it into your system. And when we're talking about magical worldviews, we find that those worldviews change and they morph over time. They constantly keep changing. So when we've taken in a lot of knowledge which is affecting that worldview, we need to integrate that into the worldview and we need to adapt in order to consume it, to digest it. And this is really what you need to do. So when you do reach those plateau stages, just take a step back and sit, relax, allow this information to be digested and integrated, and then when you're ready again, move forward again. During those plateau stages though, what do you do? Apart from just sitting back and allowing that information to digest and integrate. What's a good idea is to actually keep practicing, but keep it simple. What I actually like to do when I hit those plateau stages is go back to basics. So I'll, instead of practicing magic, casting a circle, laying a compass, or whatever I'm doing, whatever I've been doing, I may just stop doing that for a period of time and I'll just go back to basic meditation. And the great thing about going back to basics, putting yourself right back at the beginning, is that you've gained a lot of knowledge and therefore you can then apply that to those basic practices. So what you find is just going right back to the beginning and starting with basic meditation methods, whichever method you prefer, You do this and the practice itself is enhanced. You've learnt a lot more. You can apply other things to this basic practice, to this foundational practice that you're doing. So you'll find that your meditation is better. You'll find that your breath work is easier. And you go back to the basics, go back to the beginning, and just start working your way through it again. So during that period of that plateau period, you are still learning more, but what you're doing is taking all that knowledge and information that you've gained and you're applying it to your entire practice. And because you're going back to the basics, you're practically applying it, which makes it more valuable at the end of the day. So go back to the basics, do the basic stuff, but keep practicing something. Many years ago now, I did hit a serious plateau stage. I suppose we could call it a dark night of the soul. I had been trying to incorporate so many different things, taking in so much knowledge, practicing so much that I hit this point where I just couldn't do it anymore. I completely and utterly just cancelled everything. I actually, it was quite severe and it went on for several years. But I left all the communities online. I left all of the personal communities I had in person. It wasn't really a big community at that point though, but I left it anyway. I left magic altogether. I stopped doing any kind of magic. I stopped doing meditation. Everything. I just stopped everything. And I decided I was going to just forget about that and focus on business and family. And that went on for several years. But you get pulled back, you get drawn back. It's in your blood, it's in your bones. There's no real way of getting away from it. So it draws you back because it's something that drove you and you were passionate at one stage, and those passions don't just disappear. But as I said, it was several years, and I had to then, when I wanted to come back, I found it very difficult because I had no practice. I had nothing dedicated towards anything, any path, any tradition, nothing. So I kind of came back as a blank slate, but I didn't know where to pick up. So it took me maybe 2 or 3 years to actually get into a proper practice again, in a proper direction, a proper flow, something that I wanted to actually follow. And I learned from all of those mistakes I previously made. And I try not to apply them again. Sometimes it's kind of difficult, but I am aware of it. So my practice now is a lot more easier. It's a lot more streamlined because I've learned everything I needed to. Because it took me so long to kind of get over that barrier, it doesn't have to happen that way. As I said, I completely and utterly stopped everything. So that's why I suggest that when you do hit those plateau stages, or a dark night of the soul, then keep practicing something, even if it is just sitting down for 5 minutes a day and just being still and silent and just doing some kind of meditation. Even if it is just doing something each day for 5 or 10 minutes which creates hyper-focus, whether it's coloring, drawing, some kind of art, whether it's walking in nature, whether it is doing qigong, tai chi, yoga, whatever it is, just keep some kind of practice on a daily basis that kind of keeps the flow going. You don't want to cut that flow off completely. You're going to find it very hard to come back afterwards. But if you do keep the flow going, then when you are over that plateau period, then it's easy to pick up again and you can carry on going. But the other thing about hitting these plateaus is that quite often we don't understand what's happening, which is the main reason I'm actually doing this video today. We don't understand what's happening and we think there's something wrong with us. We think there's something wrong with our magic. We think that we are useless, and we start beating ourselves up for it. It's the same thing with, if you have a daily meditation practice, something we always recommend. Some kind of daily practice, and usually it's a meditation. It keeps your frequency up and high. It keeps you out of all that sludge, and it makes life a lot easier. But there come stages where you just can't do it anymore. You just don't want to do it. So you stop doing a meditation practice, and quite often people will beat themselves up for that. Discipline is a great thing. It's a great thing to have in your life. But if things do go wrong, if you do hit plateaus, if you do hit those periods where you just don't want to do it anymore, you just want to take a break, that's fine. Discipline is good, but don't beat yourself up during those times when you need to take that break. We all go through cycles, and those cycles are very important to us and to our life. We are in a society where we have to constantly push ourselves. We have to do the same things every day. We have to get up and we have to eat breakfast. We have to go to work. We have to have lunch break. We have to have tea breaks. We have to then come home from work and we have to do X, Y, and Z. We may have a family we need to take care of. We may have kids. Whatever it is in your life, we have to do these things on a repeated basis every single day. And even through all the seasons. So we go from spring to summer to autumn to winter to spring to summer, and it just continues over and over again. We go through all of these natural cycles which are around us, but we don't conform to those natural cycles. We push ourselves to continue that monotonous, droning, unnatural process that we have to do. And unfortunately, we do have to do it. We have to make money to pay the bills, and therefore we have to get up every day and go to work. And whether it's spring, summer, autumn, or winter, we have to do the same thing every day, and we have to do it at the same time every day. We have to constantly keep pushing ourselves. And then what happens is we go through all of these natural cycles, and we kind of push ourselves into an unnatural state, which can be detrimental to ourselves, to our body, and therefore we start taking medications. So it's good to try and find a balance there. I don't want to get too much into that because that's not what today's video is about, but we do need to try and find balance there. Whether it's exercise, whether it's going for a walk in the evenings after work, just to get in some fresh air and some sunlight. Whatever it is, just try and find some kind of balance there to bring that natural state back to ourselves, okay? But because of that mentality where we have to keep pushing ourselves forward, we're not allowed to take those plateau periods, we're not allowed to take those breaks. We're not allowed to progress and then stop and integrate, and then progress and stop and integrate. We have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And because of that, we feel that when we hit those plateau stages in our spiritual practice or our magical practice, that there's something wrong with us, that we shouldn't be doing this. We have to keep pushing and pushing. Don't. Allow those natural cycles to happen, because they are there for a reason. They have to happen. And when you hit those plateaus, just stop, take a break, allow all that information to integrate, allow it to subsume into your worldview so that it can be altered and changed to what it should become. And keep some kind of practice, just a simple practice every day, 5 or 10 minutes, whatever you can do. Just keep that practice going so that it keeps the energy flowing, keeps it going. It's not moving forward, it's just keeping a flow. So you are not becoming stagnant, you are still flowing, you're still moving. And then when the plateau is over, you start practicing more, and then the flow, you start progressing up and up and up and up, going up steps. Okay. So that's my advice for hitting those plateau periods anyway. Okay. Alright, so I'll see you on Wednesday for Ask Lee, and have a good one until then. Cheers for now. Bye bye.